Okay, hi. It's chapter 8. So we learned a bunch of stuff about things that he didn't bother to explain in the last chapter in this one. And 52 people are dead. 4 were injured, but still survived, according to, this. I'm just going to point out that the list... I looked up a list, because I needed to know, since we're talking about, how this is basically a supposedly school shooting. Well, the most lethal one was the Virginia Tech one, and that was 33 people. So this is now the most horrific spree killing in a school in American history. So, cool, Greg. Thank you for that. Then it is also revealed that Seth, that is, did this using an M16, which is a military-grade rifle, if you don't already know. Which I'm not saying that you couldn't get your hands on. But the M16A1 is kind of an older one, and since he just said M16, I'm assuming that's what he meant. And I had to look up all this information about the M16. So, I'm assuming the A1, which was made in 86. But, even if we go all the way down, right? Okay. Let's just say it doesn't matter which version it is. They all use a roughly universal clip that has the same amount of ammo in it. It's a 20-round magazine. That's your standard. At no point in time was a extended mag referred to. So, I'm assuming... and I don't know why I would bother to do this, but I'm assuming that he had multiple loaded magazines for this, because reloading a magazine takes a while. It's not a simple process. And how did nobody notice that a high school boy got a hold of a military rifle and multiple magazines of 7.62 ammunition? I'm sorry, 5.56. Because I know there's somebody out there who is like, actually, well, before you can, I already looked at it. So don't at me, bitch. I just can't figure out how the hell he got this, but let's just say he did. So, we are led to believe through this that Seth is apparently one of the most elite fucking marksmen ever, because he did so much damage with in such a short amount of time, and I can't even begin to fathom how that's even possible. Like, fucking what? But whatever, they have an assembly, and we get this wonderful line as they're going to their assembly. There's this whole thing about how Davis is upset. We don't know why, that's not really addressed. And James, I forgot his name for a minute. James makes the comment about how, that to Abby that, you're this point, you're basically a course section of my programming. And she's like, oh, there you go with your robot talk. That has literally never happened. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't say shit like that in this book. What are you saying? Stop it. So then there's this whole thing about how, there's a representative of the president, and there's, the president's going to come to the school and speak to every class individually, and it's not about the press, it's because he really cares. Cool. And then they have, a Skype call with one of the gym teachers who apparently got into a fight with Seth and was injured and is in the hospital. And I cannot get over some of the things that he says, because it's the most alien things I've ever heard. He says stuff like, you can see me, but in this room I am talking to a camera. Yes, that's usually how that works. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Okay, so there's also another wonderful line like, under my bandages are gunshot wounds. You don't say. Really? I never would have guessed. You're in the hospital following what is the most lethal shooting in America. And under my bandages are gunshot wounds. No shit. Is the Thorazine kicking in? Or is the morphine working its way in there? Are you a little stoned? Because it kind of sounds like you might be. I have no idea what the point of all this is, but it's basically because, from what I can tell, he really wanted to write these very emotional speeches, which is what this chapter is. And then they talk about how they're like therapists and counselors at the school because of how horrible this all was. And then they go to like gym class, and that's about it. Yeah, that's the end of the chapter. I'm legitimately trying to figure out what the point of this is in the story. I'm still trying to figure out what all of this important speech making means. See, the first part of this, I always try to keep the pin. The pin in this story is that this is a very, I don't know, like a romance story, a love story, whatever, about two of the most misunderstood emo kids in the whole school and their friends, and then how it has built into this. How it has built into the fucking school shooting and making huge speeches. And the first part of this chapter seemed like it was going to go back to, you know, dealing with the emotional emotions of being an emo teen in the mid-2000s. Because now it seems like his friend is mad, and there's going to be angst and drama, and shit's going to happen, right? Well, no, actually. We're going to write really important sounding speeches, because I guess every now and then you got to write important sounding speeches. I keep trying. There's two parts of me that I keep arguing with over this, okay? So part of me keeps saying that this needs to be done in a different and better way because this is, you know, a book. This is like a published work. But then I have to remind myself it's a self-published work and it's written like fan fiction, and just because you posted something on fanfiction.net does not make it fucking literature. It makes it a thing you posted on fanfiction.net. There is a fucking difference. Stop trying to judge this on the merits that you judge actual published works. I made that mistake several times when talking about Empress Teresa, for example, because I'm physically holding a book. So I'm like, it's a published work. Au contraire, mon frère, it is not. There is a complete fucking difference. And the difference isn't just whether or not something gets sold in a bookstore. The difference is that most publishers have things like editors and proofreaders and people whose job it is to make sure that things work and make sense. See, even a book series that people really like. I tend to go to Harry Potter a lot because I don't read a lot of young adult fiction because I'm not a young adult. But let's just go with that one, okay? Every version, every single issue of that series, every book that comes out in that series has had to go through the process of, you know, JK writes it out, and then it gives, you know, we send it to the editor and the publishing house, and the editor is going to go through and look, and it's like, but did you mean this? Oh, this is, you know, you accidentally misspelled this. And we have a proofreader, and they read the whole thing, and they can point out continuity problems, like, why is this like this? Oh, it's because you forgot this. Okay, and then they go back and forth and fix whatever things may have gotten fucked up. I basically explained how the editing process works for a book. It's very rudimentary. My basic explanation of that, because I'm not going to go into details. I could, but it's pointless, kind of like how my explanation of this is pretty pointless. You probably already know that. But the reason I'm extrapolating heavily on this is because Onision never had anyone edit his books. And this is obvious with the massive, weird continuity that doesn't really make any sense, the random escalation of things, the overuse of adjectives to kind of like emphasize drama when they're really not necessary, the random size of chapters ranging from multiple pages to 1 page, the spelling errors, there aren't a huge amount of them, but they are there, and just the general overall things that don't really make a lot of sense. Now, to put this in a little more of a thing, from what I understand, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am, but from what I understand, one of his fans, a patron of his, actually offered to edit all of his books, one right after the other. They were so into all his shit that they were like, I'll do it, you don't even have to pay me, I'm just a huge fan, really want to edit your works, bro, I think it would be an honor. And Onision, in typical Greg fashion, was like, no! My works are above reproach! I am an artiste! How dare you! I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, it was kind of like that. So nothing ever actually gets edited. It's literally just written and then put out. And again, I go back to the comparison of fanfiction.net, because that is how everything on there is, in most cases. Most of the time, there is no proofreader and there is no editor. And sometimes there are people who have proofreaders and editors, and they don't actually do anything. Or they're not really, they don't really know what they're doing. It's a multitude of... They're not professionals, basically, is what we're trying to say here. And it shows a lot, because sometimes there are stories that, much like in fanfiction, I believe I said this in a much earlier chapter review too, you'll start out with like a story of plucky high school kids who are like, we need to find love and make happy and all this other stuff, and then it ends with them having laser swords and fighting a dinosaur in space, because the only way to keep people coming back to your episodic thing is to constantly hype up and build to the next level in your next episode. Right? No. But that's how fanfiction is written, and that's how a lot of it happens. Not all of them, again, mind you, not all of them, but the really bad ones. And this is exactly that. We needed a reason to get these two kids who are obviously super into each other into the same place so that they can just totally bang and have like the greatest relationship ever. And we're going to solve this. We're going to solve this little conundrum by basically creating one of the most horrific incidents that could have ever fucking happened in their school career, so that they cling to each other out of absolute fucking desperation and still call it love. This is some pretty fucking weird shit. And it honestly makes me very, very uncomfortable about Onision's mental state. I gotta be really honest with you. I know we've already called into question that on many other things, but right now, it's making me even more uncomfortable. Yes, I do realize that I said uncomfortable twice. That was on purpose. It's weird, isn't it? Anyway, it's time to end this episode. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you're enjoying whatever the fuck it is I'm doing with my life with this, and I love you all so very much. Make sure you do the YouTube thing of the liking and the commenting and the subscribing and all that shit. I'll see you in the next episode. Okay, goodbye.